Where do viruses come from? Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for askleo.com. This is actually one of those, I won't call it a common question, but it is a question that I suspect a lot of people sometimes wonder about. I know I certainly have over the years. Here's one example that I actually got. Today I got a message that I had received 2 emails in my inbox with a virus. But where do they come from? Well, specifically, I can't say, right? The email that you are getting could be coming from any number of different places, and I'll talk about what some of those are. But in the larger scheme of things, where viruses come from, where malware actually comes from, has changed. There are a lot of different places that it seems to come from these days. When we think of malware, we normally think of cyber criminals, folks who are attempting to either set up spam or defraud us out of our money or perform identity theft or perhaps even distribute ransomware. In the past, we've also factored in what we sometimes in a derogatory way call script kiddies, right? Kids with more time on their hands than they really should, who are just trying to cause trouble. And certainly in the early days, that's what a lot of it was. It was a lot of an attempt to prove that they could be destructive or do things. But today, most malware actually originates from individuals or organizations, actual organized crime or sometimes nation states, who are attempting to accomplish something that at least isn't above board, right? Be it illegal or spying or something along those lines. So malware ultimately then can come from anywhere, quite literally anywhere at any time, be it overseas, be it domestic, via email, via other techniques. It can literally come from just about anywhere. But then it gets worse. There's a term that is recently new that we've heard over the past couple of years called superspreaders. Right, we've talked about it with respect to the pandemic of having quote unquote super spreader events where we all get together and we all spread a virus and we all go home and we all get sick. The same kind of applies to malware in that there are individuals who I would refer to as super spreaders who have less than good security. They are the ones who are not just getting infected, but also spreading that infection by spreading or forwarding malicious emails, hoaxes, urban legends, humor, that kind of stuff. That all potentially includes attachments. Basically, I suspect you know someone like this, right? Someone who doesn't quite get security and who accidentally, without malicious intent, ends up sharing something that they probably shouldn't have shared and therefore end up putting their friends or their contacts or whoever they're communicating with at risk of getting malware as well. Now, when it comes down to tracking specific sources of malware, things get really, really difficult. Because, as you might imagine, the folks behind it, especially when they're like organized crime, they are very, very interested in not being found. And as it turns out, there are several ways that they can actually do a pretty darn good job of exactly that. The best example, since it is right now the most common way that you and I are at risk of malicious software, is email. And the most common way that hackers and malicious entities make it difficult for us to find out who they are is this thing called from spoofing. From spoofing makes email look like it came from someone that it did not. You may get malicious software, a bad attachment from someone you think you know, but in reality that email was not sent by them at all. It was sent by hackers. And they're not necessarily doing it from their own machines. One of the things that the malware that they send out does is turns your machine or my machine or whoever's infected into what's called a bot. That bot may itself be operating completely normally. You may never know you're infected unless your security software tells you so. But while it's infected, that bot could be sending out email. So that when someone who receives that spam tries to trace back where that spam came from, not only is the from address useless, if they actually look at the headers that tell them what machines were involved in sending that spam to you, it gets traced back to your machine, not the machine of the hacker, not the machine of organized crime, not the machine of whoever is truly behind it. Again, that makes it incredibly difficult for us to determine exactly who and where these entities are. Pragmatically, it's out of the realm of possibility now for you or I to actually trace down the source of malicious software. Yes, law enforcement typically can. It requires a lot of cooperation between you and law enforcement and your ISPs and the email providers and a number of other entities that may or may not be interested in or even able to cooperate. But that's the level of interaction it now takes to determine where malicious software comes from. So the bottom line is, don't waste your time. Don't try. Because like I said, it's very unlikely that you will be able to determine anything useless. When you get spam, mark it as spam and move on. Make sure that all of your normal security settings are up to date. You've got anti-malware software running. You're doing all the right things with respect to passwords and firewalls and being skeptical of the email that you get. That's what it takes. But finding out where it came from, well, everywhere. Hope that was at least a little helpful. For updates, for comments, for related links and more, visit askleo.com/1857. I'm Leo Notenboom, and this is askleo.com. Thanks for watching.